It just looks creepy. Welcome back to Bovington, part 2 of the kind of the unofficial walk around tour. We're now in the World War II section. There's not necessarily a specific sequence on this. It used to be you started at the far right with the early tanks, but these days you kind of come out in the middle, and they're also doing some rearranging. Note, Locust. Note, bigger than Locust. I will one day get around to doing an inside hatch on one of these things. Don't know if I'm looking forward to it or not. Weasel Befehlswagen 1 command car. Oh yeah. One of these things kind of greets you as you come in the door. They do have 2 of them here. So they got the original turret and have the production turret. Why not have a M26? You got a 46 around the corner somewhere. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make it sort of a tiger alley, or a cat alley, I guess. And to do so, it's a Ram Kangaroo. Sorry, Ram Kangaroo. M10 17 pounder. So what they're trying to do is get every type of tiger that they can together in one place. There's a production King Tiger, why not? So this is a real 3018, not a G13. And a Pack 43, why not? So not just Tigers, but also Tiger variants. So in addition to the 2 King Tigers, and they also are borrowing White Scout car. I've always thought if I was going to start collecting armored vehicles, this is where I'd start. You see here the Bright Idea suspension. Supposedly rather reliable and well liked, but definitely slow. And the Rolls-Royce armored car, and they even kept the grille, that wonderful Rolls-Royce grille. So they're borrowing another Matilda one. They're borrowing the Ferdinand off, or is it an Elephant? I think it's an Elephant, off of the Americans, and they're shipping it over here. Of course, the Elephant being based off of the Porsche Tigger. Another Ram right behind Tortoise here, or Tortoise as some people would say. Not many Rams around. Driving around Vancouver, saw one just by the side of the road. Okay. The concrete truck. Okay, that bit's not concrete, but this bit is. I think that was just done up after the fact. CDL, Canal Defence Life, highly classified system. In fact, it was so classified it was never used, because if they used it, it wouldn't be secret anymore. I'm not joking. They had regiments and battalions of these things. And there was even an M4 version. Most people are familiar with this one. The Matilda was an M3 version in production. They did make an M4 Sherman based version of it. The Valiant. Yes. I have found the report that David Fletcher mentioned in Operation Think Tank, and sure enough, he's quite right. It did get killed after about 13 miles of operation. Look at the suspension on this. They are basically sort of wishbones and coils. I'll be damned. You got the pike nose there, very basic pike nose, but it predates the IS-3 by a while, and the infamous driver's hatch. Again, it's a kind of bizarre sequence. So we've got a duck and a crab right next to each other in front of the Tetrarch. Look inside to see the handles coming down for the 2-pounder. Can we see anything back here? I don't know. 1, 2. Okay, it looks big enough. It might even be Useful. It's a close support Tetrarch. It looks like it's got a much bigger barrel on it than you'd expect off a 2-pounder. Of course, the joy of Tetrarch is that it steers in the same manner as a universal carrier. The inside wheels move backwards and forwards, and they kind of flex the track to do some turns without losing any velocity. Fans of Girls and Panzer will like this one. This was originally a D model that they, with the short gun and less armor, that they upgunned later in life. So it's listed as a D/H. I think it's really more still a D. Well, one of the amusing things to find about it is that the additional armor is thicker than the original armor. Valentine, hooray! And we got another of our Mark IIIs, except this Mark III's been opened up. End model with the, well, it's been kind of opened up. There's not a hell of a lot in it. It's got the short 75 that took off the Stugs, I think. Stugs Mark IVs. Crusader with 6-pounder, and yes, the Italian tanks. Hooray! Oh, this one's open. I can see a hell of a lot in there. There's a bloke in there pretending to be an Italian. Okay. CV-33 Crocodile. I guess you want to call it that. You thought the Locust was small. This thing is absolutely tiny. This, however, not so much. It's one of the Marmon Harringtons. I probably took a look at the German 8x8 armored cars, tried to emulate it, and failed miserably. Does it have a rear driver? Yes, it does. Turret platform. Let's see a Crusader turret. Yeah, hop around here and... Gee, look, there's an M4. And the famous Rota trailer, of which much has been mentioned. You can listen all about it in Operation Think Tank. I've got a couple of written articles up. For this small little thing, the amount of press it gets, if you have heard of it, is rather interesting. Still came courtesy of Finland, hence the logs and concrete. Former Brazilian steward, they got rid of him about 20 years ago. Staghound and an AEC with no small gun on it. Unfortunately, there's also no small armored car. It'll probably fall over as soon as it went blue on it sideways. Archer. And yes, the driver does go backwards. It is said that, there's the driver's hole. If the gun recoils, it'll take off the driver's head. I do not believe that is the case. I just seem to recall. The seat is... Where's the seat? Missing? It's kind of there, and the gun is back here. I seem to recall that the Archer in Overloon has a recoil guard, which does actually protect the driver. And from the shape of the recoil guard, it seems likely that there's enough space for him to be in there at the same time. Centurion 1, complete with the Pulsen cannon. Comet, a very clean Comet in parade format. A couple of armored cars, Coventry, another Marmon Harrington, and Harry Hopkins. This was kind of the successor to Tetrarch. Got a smoke bomb launcher there. 2-pounder, as far as I know, never used. And we go back to the Stuarts with an M5. Sentinel, of course, you'll have seen this in my video. And a Japanese thing. But wait, there's more. Again, we're kind of going around in no particular sequence. We'll come back to Michael in a bit from the other side, I think. Actually, we probably can do it now. Michael, of course, is the oldest Sherman in existence. And one of the things you'll note is it retains the twin fixed forward firing machine guns. A really stupid idea that they got rid of fairly quickly. It also has the drivers and A drivers forward direct vision optics, which also got removed very quickly. Small hatch. And Covenanter. Covenanter is getting a bit of a rehabilitation recently. There's a book out not too long ago, basically saying that by the time Covenanter's service was over, they'd actually fixed the reliability problems. It was a serviceable tank, just an under-armed tank. And by the time they'd fixed that, they realized the 2-pounder just wasn't going to cut it anymore, and they were working on the next one, which ended up being Cromwell. And if you look at the development history of Cromwell also started off being an ungodly, unreliable tank, which took the better part of a year to fix, and then it became pretty reasonable. The difference being, you kept a good gun. As we now move to the Russian front, KV-1, Su-76, nothing too amazing about that. See, the door's open. And it links the lads in Panzerfabrik in Colorado that made that inch perfect Panzer III have actually done a Lynx as well, including some of the original parts. I think there's only 2 of these left around. An 8-rad. Again with the 75. The Germans had this philosophy of reconnaissance for a while, that heavy reconnaissance was good because you could punch through the counter recon screen. T-26 obviously captured, placed into Finnish service. Buffalo. I'm probably not allowed to show the swastikas, I don't care. There's not much room after you have the gun in there. Oh, Goliath. Well, we're still not done with the World War II section. Chafee, the Ram Kangaroo we saw before. Hang on, let me hang around the left here. It's the Ag Tiger. Half track and an ARV, I think. No, Centaur Dozer, my bad. And we're back at the crab. So let us wander around to the Tamiya Hall. They have a nice collection of guns here. Fury, hooray. And if you want to play World of Tanks, you can. Now this is the little bit that I think I'm horrified at. They have placed a children's thing covering up Tog. Why? Why have you destroyed Tog? I did suggest that they turn Tog into a cafe, serving drinks out the side of Tog, and apparently that got turned down. Pity. I've been told that Tog is basically forevermore stuck here. When they brought it in, they needed to use washing up liquid to lubricate the floor because the tracks wouldn't turn, and they just simply dragged it around. So what is inside TOG? A steering wheel, turret platform for the 17 pounder up there, and you can see the engine deck starts basically right behind the turret. In fact, it's even underneath the turret, and it's nothing but engine. Hello. And motors from this point on. Some very wide tracks. More troops. This, of course, is where Wargaming parked their gaming truck on Tankfest. I seem to recall this is a developmental prototype for something. TV-1000 Rhino. Purely for experimental work. Challenger 1. Chieftain, you can climb up. And they have a Conqueror of their own. Another relatively recent exhibit, it's been going about 4 years now, I think. The WMIC is the Afghanistan Exhibit. They've taken up a lot of space in this where you arguably could put vehicles. So here's our scimitar with every ECM mass known to man. This actually is a battle damaged vehicle. They brought it back.
This is the warhead. The fuse of the warhead is right in front of it. The alarm itself is set at a certain distance. When the warhead comes in.
Armored BV. You can put on your helmet if you want to try out a helmet. And well, that's pretty much it for the side here. There's actually not much else left in public in Bovie. So of course the WMIC 2 is sort of their version to our up-armored Humvee. We started putting armor on absolutely everything, and they decided, why are we even driving on roads? Let's just go off the roads. Arguably, the British had the right idea there. And as we continue around, goodbye TOG, covered by play area. I'm sure the kids are happy, but I mean, really, they've covered TOG. More camera folk, black prints, and a Ripper tiger face M46. Now this particular vehicle did not go to Korea. You're welcome. Alright, so we've been past the Hopkins, there's Black Prince again. Basically a operated Churchill without an operated engine. Possibly not the wisest move. They actually had two problems. One problem was the fact that they never upgraded the engine. The other problem was the fact that, well, they'd invented Centurion. You look at that for a second, you look at the really thin cables, you realize, oh, hang on, it's only a fiberglass turret. The Swedes are here. Actually, they have an S-tank here. Oh, they do. I knew they had one around somewhere. I didn't know if it was on display or not. Yeah. They've slightly cut open the T-55 here. A reasonable thickness of armor. Even the roof isn't exactly thin. Engine bay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the visitor from Mr. Harcourt. Mr. Harcourt, please come to main mission desk. Thank you.
So I have this one up at max elevation. The strakes here, they were military secret basically until 1992. And there were little plastic plugs underneath the anti-slip coating, and you'd have to knock it out in order to access the ports. Oh, unfortunately they've shut the hatches, but it does look like they actually plan on running it again. Very touchy to drive. This is an easy vehicle to drive, but very difficult to drive well. I've managed to stall it a couple of times. Not this particular one. It's only got a like 400 horsepower turbine. I'm used to something a little bit more power. It's a prototype for a CVRT. Not the wheels. Couple of various ferret options. Late model Centurion, hooray! Exciting rocket powered videos. A mono trailer for the Centurion fan. Not the most popular piece of equipment ever. You can see the way this works is that the trailer does not articulate. It purely moves up and down in a vertical axis, and it becomes part of the tank in overall length. And the mono wheel at the back is basically on a swivel, like sort of thing you find on a supermarket trolley. And as the tank spins around, the mono wheel spins around as well. It is a bit of a problem when going over bridges, like vehicle launch bridges, because the tracks are fine, but there's nothing for the trailer wheel to sit on, so it just falls down through the bottom. Saracen. Yeah. Same general wheel layout as a Saladin. And the famous cut in half Centurion, which I've always liked because it shows you just how much gun there is inside the tank, and how much, if you want to depress the gun to get that wonderful soft stat, how much the gun breech has got to go up. And of course we have the other side, nothing particularly fascinating there. And that pretty much comes to an end of the interior of Bovie. There's a couple more things outside. Well, that's basically it. Talk to you when I talk to you.